Is it sharp? Because without my glasses on.
Not yet.
What do you mean?
555.
I didn't mean that sharp, buddy.
Oh, the image. Image is good now.
Yeah. No, it's not dragging in there.
Who's that? Mina?
Is it? Okay, good evening. Welcome to our next live. We just wait for people to join in before we start discussing the topic for today. So say a hi, hello to us as you are joining us in. Actually, I'm just going to bring a cushion to sit on.
And right, so let me take the opportunity to say hello very quickly, and we're most pleased to have you all with us, and we're twice as blessed to have this opportunity to share it with you.
Right, so today is again a Seeds of Thought platform that we're going to be discussing the topic of power. And I think we'll give it a few more minutes before we actually start what we're going to base our discussion on. But just to put your, thinking caps on about what does power mean for you? Is it authority? Is it control? Or is it all about feeling your self-confidence, feeling centered in who you are, acknowledging your self-worth to yourself? So we're going to have a nice interactive discussion, Tony's perspective, my perspective, and then we would love to have you send us your, your side of how you see it, and let's have a really nice interactive session today. So as soon as it's 6 p.m., I will start talking about the quote that we are going to base our discussion on today. For those who are new to our platform, let me just quickly say Seeds of Thought is a platform on which, especially on the Instagram, Tony and me will bring a topic for discussion, and we will share our perspectives on it, different perspectives on it, and then we have an open discussion with the audience. And just as the name suggests, Seeds of Thought is about planting a seed of thought in our lives so that we can build our self-awareness and, grow from these different topics and have a different viewpoint towards ourselves and our experiences in life. It's all about growing and enhancing our journey through life. That's how I think is the beauty of moving forward in life. Okay, so is it 6 p.m., Tony?
I think so. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. So today's discussion, like I was saying, is on the word power, and we are going to be basing our discussion on the quote by Alice Walker, who's the author of The Color Purple. Tony will talk more about the book as well as the movie that was created on this book. But I'm going to share the quote, and that goes, "The most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any." Okay, so that's quite powerful. Before we start discussion about it, I just want to sort of put it out there. What does power mean for you? Is it self-worth, self-confidence? Is it control, authority, domination? What does it mean for you? And so I'm going to hand over to Tony so that he can give his perspective, and then we will go back and forth and talk about it. So go ahead, Tony.
Right. Okay. So what does power mean for me? Power means the wife. Okay. So
yes, sure.
Now that we've got that sorted out, let's move on to Alice Walker. Alice Walker, as Vandana mentioned, was the author of The Color Purple, which was made into a book by. Let me correct myself. Turned into a movie by Steven Spielberg, and people like Oprah, Whoopi Goldberg were in the movie, and the movie is set in rural Georgia. It's about a young girl who comes from a dysfunctional family and abused as a child. And the entire story is about her life as she grows up and how she moves away from this background of being abused into a confident person later on in life. And the movie is all about how different people play different roles in helping her to get her life together. So, what does power mean to you, to me? And the big question, of course, goes back to why do we think we don't have power? But looking at it from the flip side, why do other people believe that they have the power and use that power to put people down? Well, I like to look at it from the perspective of people who tend to abuse power. Believe that they can, and they believe that they can get away with it. So therefore, they do it, and it's a repeated behavior. It's a habitual behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, where does this come from? It all comes down from this illusion that they can do it and get away with it. And why does this illusion come in? I've made a note. I made a point of a couple of the reasons why that this illusion sits with some people, and one of the biggest reasons that we go on from again is from assuming this position and confusing power with authority. Power is real, no doubt about that. Power is real, and the power that I'm thinking of is the power that people have through influence and through leadership. But power in the workplace, if you will, is really authority. Okay, so that's one area where people tend to abuse that authority and put other people down, or colleagues down, or reportees down, simply because they feel that they can. Then you have significance. People want to feel important, and how do they feel important? They feel important by putting someone else down and making others feel less important. And again, this is not necessarily limited to the workspace. It can happen in the social environment as well, in a group scenario, on an individual one-on-one basis as well. Then there's insecurity. People have personal insecurities. So when they are insecure about something, they tend to project that insecurity onto someone else. And it makes them feel better when they make someone else feel worse. So again, that insecurity goes hand in hand with their low self-esteem.
That's right.
So their low self-esteem tends to build up their insecurities, and it goes back to putting someone else down because they feel that so he's down there and I'm up over here, so I'm far more significant, I'm far more important than the other person. But again, as I said, it's all the illusion, and the illusion sits in the head.
Absolutely. What else?
Well, then there's the need for attention. So
you mean to say the person who is putting the authority on the other person is
simply doing it because they want the attention.
Okay, so it's an attention seeking.
Very much so.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
And something that happens quite a lot. It's very subtle, and that is jealousy.
Okay.
So when you're jealous of someone else's achievements or someone else's success, or just someone else's ability, in a social environment where they make friends more easily, or they have a ready smile, or things like that. If you're jealous of what the other person has achieved for themselves, then you're trying to make the other person look bad, feel bad, can become an
Make
active part of your interaction with that
right.
person.
So make them feel small.
Absolutely, make them feel small.
Okay, that's interesting.
And yeah, and then of course the need to manipulate others. You see that all the time. Your own negative outlook on life.
Okay.
And that's something that you could probably talk a little more about. Someone's negative background and their perspective or their conditioning, and how they see themselves and how they project themselves into into social gatherings or in the workspace.
Yeah, right. That's a very interesting. Before I move on, I really like the point that Tony made is about power is real. Power has when you use it efficiently, or you rather positively, I should say, to make an influence, to bring positive change in someone's life by using your power. But I'm going to share, and I really like the different perspectives that you gave about somebody who takes the power from others, whether for manipulation or influence or feeling small, various aspects. The one that I want to really talk about is the person who's giving away the power.
Right. So that's quite an interesting take when you say the person's giving away their power. So why would they give away their power anyway? And that'd be very interesting to get your perspective on that. However, there is something that I want to add to my to the earlier points that I had made. We should always be aware that there are people who mean well, and they give us feedback.
Okay.
But because of their communication skills not being great, or their emotional quotient not being great, they put it across badly. So they mean well, but they put it across badly. So that's something that we should also be aware of, and therefore make greater allowance for. But we only realize that when we have moments to reflect and make that differentiation there.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Hold that thought, because I know exactly which context that would fit in really well. So first, let me present my perspective on why do we give our power away? Because, there is somebody who is feeling that they can treat us that way. And ultimately, it's all about how we see ourselves. For me, power is all about what kind of self-worth do I carry within me? What's my confidence? How do I recognize my strengths? Not about being arrogant in any way. It's power not as arrogance, but more as, this is who I am. I have this immense energy of talents and strengths. And yes, I might have a few limitations, but I know myself well. And I think if you know yourself well, you are then able to know when someone is taking your power away, and you allow them to do it. Because if you have low self-esteem or low confidence, you carry that vibration and energy with you. You sort of allow them to feel that, yes, you can come walk over me, and that's fine. Now, the origin of that could be coming from anywhere, and I think this is where I would bring in that concept of well-meaning. So I think each one of us at some point in time have experienced someone of authority making us feel like we don't know better. Perhaps well-meaning parents, where they are trying to raise us in the right way, put the right values, because that's how they believe, that's how it should be instilled in us. Perhaps in school, the teachers who want to bring in discipline and impart the education, but are doing it from an authoritative state of mind. And again, it's where you are. If your self-worth or your self-esteem is anyway a bit shaky, it is quite possible that power, authority that is being projected towards you, you're reading as yourself being small, not aware. At times it's used as an emotional blackmail, right?
Very true.
I love you so much, you can't do this, yeah? You don't you love me? I think we've kind of had those moments in life that we've experienced. And then we start believing, especially when you are going through it during your childhood, you start believing how others are seeing you. You start thinking that perhaps I lack this confidence, and it becomes your reality. Now, one would ask, how does one then get over this? Because I'm sure each one of us at some point in time have experienced through our childhood where authority figure is trying to make us look small, or like you don't know better, you're just a child, or you're just a young teenager, you just come out of university, what do you know, you just started this work, I've been in this work, in this field of work much longer than you. Those kind of statements could last and stay with us for a long time. So what does one do? But we'll talk about that in a bit. There was one more aspect that you had wanted me to share my thoughts on it. Can you remind me what it was? I kind of forgot.
and that was the background, the cultural and
absolutely
the conditioning that we come up with.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was saying. So, well-meaning parents, well-meaning teachers, or when you start in a new job, it's all about you don't know, you're new, you're fresh. And we start putting this into our subconscious mind. And we have to remember that the subconscious mind is our default behavior. When we're not putting a conscious thought on how we would like to react to a particular situation, the subconscious mind sends that reflex behavior and makes us behave as if we were that 10-year-old who was being bullied in school, perhaps, or being told off for not being good enough in math, when actually you were trying to excel in your art and you're good at dance or something like that, and your teacher is making a judgment over the fact that you're not good at math. And so therefore you carry that in your subconscious into your adult life, and it just goes on and on and on. And so we can talk about that as to what are the different things that you could do. Should I go ahead and share some of that now, do you think? Or do you have something to add to what I was saying?
No, I think we're ready to share. Do we have any questions? Please type them in so we can actually
steer
the conversation, or try and respond to some of the questions that do come up.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to emphasize over here, and this was Vandana's last point, where we are told, hey, you're not good enough. Now, I might be jumping the gun over here, because I just want to say there's a very quick and a very surefire way to make sure that you don't fall into that kind of a trap and adopt the belief that you're not good enough. Now, the brain, as we know it, works towards keeping us safe, right?
Right.
So when we show hesitation, science has shown us that the brain gives us 5 seconds before it kicks in with protective behavioral signals.
Right. Okay. So before you get defensive.
You've got 5 seconds to change how the brain is going to approach the problem. And the way to combat this is immediately, when you're faced with doubt, when you're faced with concerns, fears, is to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, why count down? Is because when you come down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there's 0, and then you can't go any further. But if you count up, there's 6 and 7, and the brain naturally plots that 6 and 7. And then you've gone beyond your 5-second time limit, and the brain kicks in with protective behavior.
And also you give the opportunity to the other person to continue that mind game of claiming power over you, right?
Absolutely.
That's a very good suggestion. Actually, I've never used that. Yeah. The suggestions that I was going to give more from my work perspective is meditation, of course. As Vandana, I'll always recommend meditation, but there's one that it really works well is the yoga nidra, the psychic sleep, where we actually take you in a structured way to be kind of connected to your subconscious and your unconscious mind, and you actually place a new resolve for yourself in it.
Right.
Okay. And so you create a resolve. So if you feel that there's a repetitive pattern where you get into relationships where your power is being taken away, or you go from one job to the other and you get that nasty boss, but you're not going to be running away from one job to the other, job hopping to get away from that person who takes your power away. You need to help heal yourself, your subconscious mind, from those conditioned patterns that you have about yourself. And so the Yoga Nidra, going in there and putting that new resolve that I have self-respect. I believe I have the power to be all that I can be. Something to that effect, whatever is effective for you, those right words. And then you sort of, repeat that resolve 3 times at the start and the end. You actually get into self-hypnosis twice a day, just when you're falling off to sleep and just when you're waking up. And you can actually repeat that resolve just when you're falling off to sleep or when you're waking up. And you can then, when you are getting ready at the start of the day, stand in the front of the mirror and then reassure yourself in a very conscious state of mind the new resolve. So this is a nice way to sort of heal your subconscious mind. And I really like Tony's suggestion, because that can be used anywhere. You could be out in a meeting and you could feel that, oh, my power is just being sucked away. But I want to come back to my my earlier point that it's finally all about changing ourselves, because we're not going to be able to change anybody else. We only can make a difference in our own lives. And so it's important to empower yourself and to truly believe in who you are. And I think that's when your vibrations shift and you start attracting those kind of experiences. But if your internal dialogue is negative, you are more likely to attract experiences that only reinforce your, your whatever mindset you are going in from. So are there any questions that, you'll want to sort of share with us? So that we can, steer the discussion in that way. But in the meantime, Tony, what else? What are other tools and tips that we can share with our audience at this moment in time?
Well, you're not always going to going to have the opportunity to say, So but it's true. I mean, this is something that will cross your mind when it comes to certain people or certain occasions. Yeah. Now, the whole point is is to identify who and what and when. If someone was kind of snarky with you or with someone else yesterday and the day before, it's quite likely that he's going to be snarky today as well. So it's being prepared. And it's also being a little more aware of what your natural inclination is. In case someone gets nasty with you, what's your natural inclination? Is it to kind of shrivel up and want to hide, or is it to get aggressive back, or do you want to take a more assertive stance? Now, of course, we there's a time and a place for everything, and sometimes you got to lose the battle to win the war. So that, of course, is going to be of your choosing. Yeah. But in general, what my approach is, and what I always say is to identify what your natural inclination is and to prepare for it. So the main thing, it all comes down to confidence, your own confidence in yourself. Remember, intimidation only works if you allow it to work.
Yeah.
So when you have a confident posture and someone is being nasty with you, so you present yourself in a confident manner, you make good eye contact, you don't apologize for anything, and it all depends on what the circumstance at that moment is. You can either let them know, say, thank you very much for that information, but I don't agree with you and I've got to go. So disagree, project confidence in your voice, eye contact, and walk away. Don't give them an opportunity to try and continue with the with their intent to put you down.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, what I put it in my words, is groom your energy at the start of the day. So connecting with yourself before you step out into your work day or whatever you're doing, sort of center yourself, remind yourself of who you are before you step out. So if you know, like you said, you are going to be connecting with people on a daily basis, with the ones who tend to have that effect on taking your power away, then you specifically want to remind yourself that you're going to keep your vibrations centered in who you are. We talk about protecting our energy field. So sort of put yourself in that beautiful white light or blue, whatever color that resonates with you, or even if it's just red, where you feel like, and again, it's there's a fine line here. You don't want to go into aggressive behavior, because then that doesn't make you any different from the other person who was taking the power away. But you want to be confident and very positive and make that eye contact, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when our self-esteem is predicated on how we see ourselves and how we value ourselves, and our self-esteem doesn't come from external validation,
Yeah.
that's when we project ourselves with greater confidence.
Yeah.
And in now here's another irreverent word. When you're very much in touch with yourself and you're at peace with yourself and you don't let external drama affect you, you're unfuckwithable. And there is a classical description for it
By
and and it's kind of the buzzword of coaching, in today's world. But there's so much of truth in that word, and we kind of look at it in the sense that, oh gosh, we've got to be politically correct and all. But this is the state of being that we want to be in.
So, Tony, what about people who are they're confident of who they are, they're at peace? I thought that's the line you were going to go ahead with. But I want to bring out the people who don't want to mess, don't want to get into drama. Like, okay, use that how you want to believe it. That's not going to bother me, but you can go ahead and do. What about that, where you just allow authority to do their thing, but not take anything, sort of from one ear and out from the other ear? That's that situation also. I personally think if you don't stand up for yourself, then that kind of behavior where it just goes in from one ear and comes out from the other is kind of letting them go ahead and keep doing it. That's how I think. Like, I believe it's standing up for yourself, whether it is in words or actions. Actions, I meant, is where you show your body language that, you know what, this is not done. You cannot treat me that way. What about those people who are more peace-loving, don't want to go into all that? What do you think? I mean, that's something to consider, right? There must be so many who are like that.
Absolutely. And let me give you, an excerpt from my own personal story.
Yeah.
In this last role that I was in, I was the training and development manager for a large travel group in Oman, and we had a CEO. We had a CEO who, when he lost it, he was quite abusive in the words that he used, and it just so happened that I was in one of the conversations where his entire wrath was directed towards me. Now, I'm a peaceful guy, I'm a peace-loving guy, and I'm objective and everything. And this was bugging me for a long time. And I really wanted to give him the Hawaiian love salute, but I came home and I spoke to my guru,
To the
and
boss.
to the power in the house, and I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to let him get away with it. It doesn't matter. He's the CEO or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm going to talk to him. So I got and spoke to him and I said, look, whatever it is, I understand the circumstances. I'm absolutely fine with criticism. I'm absolutely fine with feedback. But what doesn't sit well with me is this abusive and disrespectful language. Because if you're going to disrespect me in front of everyone, you're disrespecting the entire team. That's
Yeah.
and it just does not look good for a CEO
Yeah.
to show disrespect to to his management or to his executive team.
Yeah.
And he heard me out. He tried to wiggle his way out. I gave him enough of wiggle room so that he does not lose face in the discussion, which is a key thing when you're talking with senior people in the or anyone for that matter. Let me correct myself there. If you give them enough of room to not lose face, you get a better result.
Yeah.
And he accepted what I said, and he was absolutely fine. And after that, there was no abusive language towards anyone, which and I thought that was a great victory on my part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Standing up for myself and for the rest of the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, because when we recognize our own power, we are then allowing others to also heal from that. But I think I want to rewind a little bit, because when we discussed this, I remember you were a bit unsure whether you should go ahead and have this discussion when I said, don't take it, right? And perhaps that's why, because I know Tony is such a peace-loving person, and that's why I brought this whole topic up, is because in the past, Tony would probably say, you know what, his opinion does not matter. But if something really, you feel insulted, you feel really deep down that this is not the right thing, that's not how you want to be treated, I think, like how Tony explained how he handled it, where you give that little bit of space, wiggle power to the other person, you're giving a little, but you are claiming your power in return, actually. Okay, and there was something else that came up while you were talking about it, but anyway, right now it's not coming to my mind. But I think we've had some questions come up. I think I can't see without my glasses, so Tony, will you have a quick look so that we can answer some of the questions here for our audience? And there's another aspect that comes up a lot, is the when we don't know how to create boundaries for ourselves. We want to be such people pleaser. We want everybody around us to just like us and love us, so that we land up just giving away our power, which I think also is quite relevant in many of us. We don't have that boundary, and we let people walk over us, and this can be in personal relationships, and it can be quite detrimental to the relationship. Very important to be respectful towards the other person, because you don't want to be the same like them, but you also state your mind and allow the other person to share as to why they felt it was okay to speak to you in that manner. And I think it's all about a learning and growing process, right?
And very true. And in the workplace, when you don't know how to set boundaries, you will get taken advantage of.
Yeah,
it goes without saying. And you might not even realize it, but you've given away your power simply because you've allowed someone else to come to you and say, hey, can you do this for me? I'm really pressed for time. And if you don't know how to say no, then you take it on, and guess what happens? You stress yourself, you get anxious, you get bad-tempered, it just makes life difficult for you. Your time management goes out the window. Your deadlines go out the window, because now you've committed to something else.
Yeah.
And remember this. This saying in the workplace: if you do someone a favor, it becomes your job.
Okay.
And that comes from experience. You do someone a favor, it becomes your job, because then you haven't set boundaries. They're going to keep coming back to you over and over and over again.
And then once again, you feel powerless.
And you feel powerless, yeah. Now, I also want to go back to, to the workplace where someone tells you, hey, you know what? You're not good enough. Or you haven't done this right. You don't know what you're doing. But how I see it, and how I've learned from other people's experiences is that when someone is faced with this kind of a situation, their reaction is, you know what, this is what he said to me, I'm going to prove him wrong.
Okay.
But proving the other person wrong is not the issue. You've got to prove yourself right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's more the subtle way, the more assertive way, and it's a more fulfilling way. Prove yourself right.
And I think that's what it comes back to, right? Because it's not about the other person. If you are being treated in a particular way which is making you feel powerless, it's because you are believing that you do not have any power. We're coming back to that quote, right? So the most common way that people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. And I think it comes back to that core part of it, is having the trust and faith in your own power, in your self-worth, your self-confidence, and feeling that you're worthy of receiving recognition, rather than feeling that you do not deserve to be recognized for who you are. You're not insignificant. You matter.
That's a pretty good comment, and I just want to add to that. And it might sound a little weird. However, when it comes down to attention seeking, or it comes down to significance, paradoxically, there are people who thrive on the attention, even if it's negative.
Yeah.
So even negative attention makes them feel good, and therefore they might unknowingly, or perhaps even knowingly, allow someone else to take away that power, or to put them down.
Yeah.
And so it all goes back to what's your natural inclination, and how self-empowered you feel, how well you know yourself.
Because that group of people are basically, they thrive on self-pity. So it's almost like, poor me, right?
Absolutely.
Give me some attention. And it could be, again, coming from childhood. If that is when hypothetically, if you threw a tantrum and, you did get the attention, right? That becomes a manner of like, okay, so if I show some kind of tears or whatever, people will give me attention. So then I will project myself as somebody who's meek and nervous, because then I will get some attention. I think that also is another layer of not feeling your power, right? Yeah.
It goes back to what your emotional influences are, and and how you understand yourself and how you project yourself. So if you're looking for significance, you can get significance the right way through positive action, or you can get significance through negative action.
So why don't we tell our audience a little more about the emotional influencer? We're going to have that workshop, right, next week?
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yes,
okay, so go ahead, talk about it.
Okay. The emotional influencers workshop, and we've already run 2 sessions.
Yeah.
Is based on our 6 human needs as put forward by Tony Robbins, and our 6 human needs are security, variety, love and connection. What's the significance? And these 4 are the 4 human needs of our personality, and then we have 2 human needs of our spirit, and that's growth and contribution. So to understand a little more about how our emotional drivers and our human needs come into play in our everyday lives, and how we interact with each other, our social interactions, our workplace interactions, you might want to consider getting onto the workshop with us. So
we're planning to, so Tony will share that cognitive aspect of the emotional influencer, and I will share the consciousness perspective, and you take away from it an understanding of your personal identities as well as your universal identities. And so we're running it next Saturday, the 28th. The timing we'll be putting it out on social media, on Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp. So if you're interested in learning more about it, please join us, send us a message, and we will send you more information. It's roughly 2.5 to probably 3 hours with a little bit of discussion and everything. So it's an amazing way to build self-awareness. Tony, I think we need to look at some questions.
Right, we've got the first comment in, and the first comment is, there is a very fine line between looking for your significance and asserting not being taken advantage of.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I would certainly agree with it. There is a fine line between wanting to assert your significance and not being taken advantage of. And the question, of course, is positive on the one hand, and ensuring that it doesn't go negative on the other.
Yeah.
So you definitely don't want to be taken advantage of, but you don't want to ensure that the actions that you're taking to not be taken advantage of move into negative significance.
So this is where I feel that connecting with yourself every day and reminding yourself of what is the intention behind what you're doing, helps you to then go from that space where you're asserting yourself, but not in a way to put someone else down. You're just asserting what you truly believe in, right? That's
Absolutely.
how I would say.
Yeah.
That kind of helps to balance that fine line that might come up, and then again, it's if at all, this is how I tend to see it. If I land up experiencing a moment when someone has been a little more pushy towards me, I definitely sit back and say, where did I lose my connection with myself there, and sort of rebalance it, and it changes. Literally, the connection with that same person changes. So that's how I would put it.
Right. So the entire objective behind being assertive is to make sure that there's a win-win interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's not about one over the other.
Yeah, it's
right?
not about I'm better than you, and
Yeah.
or I don't care what you say, and I don't care what you think.
And sometimes hidden in that aggressive way, when we are getting a feedback from somebody, there might be some element that we could take away as a learning experience, because it's all about improving and getting better at who we are. So it's not about a race, a winning over the other, right?
Yeah, and again, it goes back to something that we touched upon earlier. It's where is your self-esteem coming from? If your self-esteem is coming from within, then you're not going to feel the need to get all aggressive and all all fired up just because you disagree with someone. Remember what I had said about feedback and communication skills. Some people are just not good at that. So when you're confident about yourself and you're very much at peace and in touch with who you are as a person, then you're able to separate the words from from a lack of positive intent, or you're able to separate the words and attribute positive intent on the other hand.
Yeah.
So then you can take the meaning, you can take the lesson, and you can leave the person behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Something just came up to my head. Like, what about little kids? How they must feel when, as the parent is trying to sort of be an authority figure, like, I know better than you. I wonder what must be going on in the child's head, right? Very important to make them see that what we are trying to, and I'm talking here as a parent now, yeah? As a parent, when you are trying to impart something to your child where you truly believe that your experience has something that will benefit them, you still have to acknowledge that that 4-year-old or 2-year-old has something of their own going on in their minds, and you cannot negate that. You really have to take that into account, and you have to make them feel valuable, coming to their level and saying, yes, I know that's how you see it, but have you thought of it this way? Isn't it? I mean, as I sometimes look at a parent and a child, and the child's throwing a tantrum, and the parent is getting all authoritative, and like, who's throwing the tantrum here? Is the parent throwing the tantrum here, or is the child throwing the tantrum here? I know we have kind of gone away from that whole quote that we were talking about power, but again, it is a power struggle, right? That 2-year-old is having a power struggle with the parent at that moment in time.
Yeah, and we don't know what messages are being reinforced time and time again.
Yeah.
So I can understand a one-off power struggle is okay. If you say, hey, yeah, I know better than you, that's all right. We're not knocking parenting skills over here. And,
we're not. And we're not giving parental advice here. But just because it just crossed my mind, can you imagine how a 2-year-old must feel at that moment in time when they're up against this parent who is trying to be all authoritative? And I think we need to be mindful, because these experiences do get embedded into the subconscious mind.
Yeah, I can't remember when I was 2 years old, so so I'm not.
It's in your subconscious mind.
I'm not even going to go there.
Tony.
Yes,
It is in your subconscious mind.
Okay, we got another comment there.
Okay.
The problem for me is that I don't know how to stand up for myself and gain respect. When you've not done all these years, it's just impossible to know what to say. So, I think there are two areas to look at. It's just because you haven't done it all these years, it doesn't mean that you can't do it now. Yeah. Again, it comes back to how well you know yourself and how you'd like to project yourself. When you believe someone's putting you down and you don't know what to say, all you have to do is say, all right, thank you so much. That's very interesting. But I disagree with you.
Yeah.
And that's it. If it's in a workplace scenario, thank you very much. That's very interesting. But I disagree with you. What validation do you have to make such a comment? And then if you have your facts and figures in the workplace, of course, then present them.
Yeah.
And like I said, prove yourself right. Don't try to prove the other person wrong.
Yeah.
So go back to them and say, thank you. What's your validation?
And if the comment is that you haven't done it for a long time, perhaps you've not felt, you've been among people who've not, challenged you, or tried to be what should I say, like use their power over you, which is great. But if it has become a way to just accept people however they are and not get into the drama of, if you are feeling that you are losing that, what are the words? I forgot. But anyway, if you're feeling that you are constantly now giving away your power and you're feeling the need to rebuild.
Not being given respect.
Yeah, not being given respect, then perhaps you need to sort of have a routine to reconnect with yourself, and build up that connection back with your self-respect and your self-esteem, and be out there and be confident to share that vibration with, when you're in any context, whether it is work, it is in personal relationship, in social context, in every aspect. Very important, I believe.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And even going back to the need to stand up for yourself, it's important. It's important. But I know we all do this. We all choose our battles. We all choose the ones that we want to take up arms for.
Yeah.
So perhaps you might be doing that, and that's absolutely okay.
And it could have started by just wanting to be nice and accommodating, but now it's become a habit for you to be too accommodating and for the others to expect it out of you. And if it is taking a toll on yourself, then it is time to claim your boundaries, so change your story. You need to change your story if it has become something that you're not happy with, and there is always time to do that. There is always a good time to do that. Is there another question?
Yeah.
There?
So just in case this behavior is repetitive from someone in particular, again, it comes down to being prepared. If they were nasty 3 days ago and 2 days ago and 1 day ago, they're quite likely to be nasty today. So just be better prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Better answers.
Oh yeah.
Right there, yeah.
And has become a habit. Thank you. Good tip to start with. Okay, great. I'm glad we were able to help with that particular question.
More power to you.
Yeah, more power to you. More power to you. And there was an earlier validation of our human needs and emotional influencers, the emotional influencers course. And there was a comment that said it's a great course and I recommend it. So
wonderful!
Yeah,
thank you so much for
thank you very much
giving
for that,
us that feedback to the audience and to us. It means a lot when we know that what we are sharing is making a difference in your life. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah. There's another comment. I agree. We have to get down to the child's level, and yes, of course, but there are two sides to that particular coin. One is you get down to the child level, and you have the right approach, or you get down to the child's level and throw a tantrum just as much. So it all depends on. No, I'm just joking, of course, but yes, we have to get down to the child's level because. It's so much easier to understand children. Now, I know we had said no parenting tips over here, but here is something that might be useful. When you're arguing with a child, don't stand up and and have this debate with the child. Get down and get down to an eye-to-eye level where the child doesn't feel intimidated and the child doesn't feel threatened, and then the child doesn't go into one of those.
I know. Those moments.
So,
I always remind myself of one thing of the analogy. But even a newborn baby, if you overfeed a newborn baby, they're just going to purge it out, right? So you really can't actually control anybody. Everybody has their own way of looking at things, and it's when it's gently put across, it is more likely to reach the other person rather than through power struggle or through control and domineering behavior. I'm sure we all are guilty of trying to be authoritative over someone else, right? It's not just we are being all nice here. I'm sure at some point in time we've been on the other side and we've done that to somebody else. But it is important to stand back and think, it's like, why did I feel the need to do that? Why did I want to pull the power away from somebody else? Take their power away. Like, why would I do that? What does it make me feel? How does it make me feel better?
And in those particular times, you're just looking for a solution. You're not looking for reasons, and you're not thinking, how is this going to affect my child? When my child grows up and things like that.
But it's all about being mindful, right?
It comes down to being mindful, and it comes down to emotional intelligence again.
Yeah. Self-awareness, and it's hard, sometimes to think like, oh, I have to be on that mind thought process all the time. But once it's like a muscle, training your muscle to always be aware of your center and be acknowledging the other person. So it's when you respect yourself, you are able to respect someone else also. Okay, so I think that's been good. Is there any other question coming up? Anybody else has anything else that you want to share your experience, in life? Please do that. We'll give it a few more minutes, and then we look forward to some of you perhaps joining us over the Saturday workshop. We probably decide to have either 2 sessions, depending on how many people sign up, or we probably just have 1 session. So, Is that good? Right? Is everybody feeling all powerful and centered in yourself? Acknowledge who you are, each one of us has our uniqueness, and it is important to acknowledge yours so that you're able to acknowledge other people's uniqueness also. You, in empowering yourself, you're empowering even the other person. And I think ultimately it's all about making an influence on the people who you're connected with. Anything else? I see a question here.
Yeah, there's another
Sharing.
there's another comment, and again, that's validation of the emotional influences course, and it says, I recommend the emotional influences course as well. After attending your course, I've started paying attention to what and where the other person is coming from.
Okay, that's very interesting. Absolutely, yeah. It's not only about self-awareness; it's awareness for the other person too. So that's really nice. Thank you so much. This really means a lot to us. And should we wrap up for today?
Yeah, if there are no other comments or no other questions, then I think we've had a nice
discussion today.
Discussion, and thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all again in 2 weeks' time. Whoever can make it, then
yes, I
we
think
choose a different subject, and we'll share our thoughts, and we would also encourage all our viewers to share their thoughts as well.
Yeah, and so we will be back not next Saturday, but the Saturday after, and which will be the month of September. Isn't that amazing? We've right into September already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, time flies, doesn't it? Time really flies, and I keep saying this all the time. Time is finite, and life is unpredictable.
Right. So seize the moment.
Yeah, carpe diem.
Right. Okay. With that thought, that positive thought.
Ad Mayora.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a comment says, thank you very much. It was beautiful. Thank you so much for appreciating the way we look.
Okay.
Is that what you meant? No, oh, right. Okay, you're talking about the discussion that we had. Thanks. Thank you for that as well.
For everything. Thank you for everything. Thank you for making the time to be with us. This is really nice, and we look forward to more in future. Take care.
Yeah, it was lovely being with you all, and I'm overcoming my shyness of being in front of a camera, so y'all are doing a good job.
Yay! Take care, everybody. Stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you all soon.
Be well.
Be well. Bye.